Thank you. Good morning, sir. Thank you for
Morning.
sparing time. So, without any delay, can we start, sir?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. First of all, sir, I would like to thank you and sir for joining this discussion. And we were, you know, in the previous discussion also, there are many incidents that we are nowadays in Delhi, in other parts of India because of this rising temperatures. There are many fire incidents that are happening. And during the last discussion, we had many requests because this platform is such that people can use, they can join live, they can put their views or their opinions in the comment section. So most of them were requesting that we do something on fire safety, what kind of standards BIS has developed, or what kind of measures BIS has taken to curb or maybe contribute to the efforts of curbing these incidents. Recently, we had a big incident in Rajkot, Gujarat, and then in Delhi, every other day we are hearing about fire incidents in buildings. So that is why we were trying to get hold of you, because you have done very closely. You have worked with the committee that has the NBC committee, and you are heading the committee also, the NBC part of it. So thank you for sparing your time, sir. On behalf of our followers, our audience, we thank you for sparing your time. And we have, followers are already joining. So, sir, we will be having questions in between. As when somebody asks a question, put in their question in the comment section. I'll request you to answer that question. But before we go to that part, I would request you to please introduce the chapter 4 of NBC, which is regarding the fire, and your take on that. Please, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Radhik. Thank you very much for, first of all, for selecting this topic, which is the need, particularly during this summer. As regards the National Building Code of India, this is one of the important and majorly used special publication of Bureau of Indian Standards, used in the sense every building professional, the government authorities, including the fire authorities across the various states and UTs, they are all referring to the National Building Code of India. And particularly for the today's discussion, we have got this exclusive chapter, which is the part 4, fire and life safety, which is relevant, talking about life safety and fire safety aspects for various categories of buildings.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, sir, if you could also talk about, we can go back to development of NBC also, when NBC was in the development phase. What kind of discussions were held regarding this particular chapter or this particular part, and who all contributed? Because our followers also wants to know whether some other agencies who are, because there are many agencies who are involved in, developing instructions or guidelines about fire safety. There are many aspects of looking at it. So if you could, just provide an overview, a passing reference, how we do.
Sure. That is an important question. In fact, what we currently have is the National Building Code of India 2016. And prior to that, we had the very first version brought out in the year 1970, based on the insistence of the then Planning Commission of the country, considering that India was growing in terms of infrastructure right after the independence, and various states and UTs have been spending more than 50% of their economy only into construction. They all thought that at national level, there should be one unified document to regulate the building construction. With that premise, this NBC, or the National Building Code of India, was formulated in the year 1970. Thereafter, over usage by various people, professionals, government departments, private departments, etc. And based on the feedback, and more importantly, due to the technical know-how, research, and the manufacturing capabilities, the code was revised in the year 1983. And in fact, for the fire and life safety, there was an amendment brought out in the year 1987 also. Then in the year 2005, the next building code on part 4 came up. In the 2005 version, particularly the chapter on fire and life safety was introduced in such a way that it was very easy to remember by the professionals in terms of three major clauses. First is called fire prevention, second is called the life safety, and third is called the fire protection. And thereafter, to the 2005 version also, there was an amendment which was introduced in the year 2015. And then we are now with the 2016 edition of part of NBC, including the part 4. In fact, although we can say it is an almost 8-year-old code, but the part 4 has already got an amendment to it, which was issued 2 years ago. And more importantly, as you just mentioned in the starting, we have taken up the next revision of the building code also. And you also, Dr. Radhakishan, you mentioned who are all are involved in it. Let me explain to all the audience also present here. BIS is the national standards body in the country, and it develops the Indian standards and special publications like SP7 or National Building Code of India. It is all developed by various national technical committees, and these committees have got representatives of research community, manufacturing industries, technologies, government departments, independent private companies, and more importantly, for the part 4, we have got fire consultants also. And all these people use this particular BIS platform in the form of the national technical committees. They come, meet regularly and periodically, and they discuss what is happening not only in the country but also world over, and what are the feedbacks and what are the questions which BIS is also receiving, and what is the industry also commonly thinking, and how we can periodically elevate the standards or the requirements in NBC. So that is how, through this common technical platform of BIS, the standards are not only set in the year 1970 in case of NBC, but it is periodically upscaled also based on the complexities or developments happening.
Thank you, sir. Yes, yes. Next, sir, because as you just mentioned that many people are involved, and I think that is what makes this NBC inclusive also, because there are many different areas of it, maybe technical areas, and there are many different bodies that are stakeholders to this document. So they all represented during the discussion, so that makes it very inclusive and effective also. But as somebody mentioned that they wish to know that what kind of buildings are covered, because most of the audience members, they are not from technical background, so they are members of general public, so they want to understand whether NBC is also applicable for domestic buildings, residential buildings. So please throw some light, sir. What kind of buildings are covered, and are there different chapters or different parts that are covering these different types of buildings in NBC chapter 4?
Somebody may otherwise think mine is a small residential building. Why should I follow the building code or something? But the National Building Code, or the NBC, which is commonly referred to as, it defines in the Part 4 Fire and Life Safety chapter 9 major building occupancy classifications. It starts with Group A, which is called residential, Group B, which is educational, Group C is called institutional, wherein your hospitals are coming. Group D is called assembly buildings, where we say, for example, even malls are coming under assembly, your metro stations are coming under assembly. Assembly, as per the name, where people are congregating, they are assembling. And then Group E is called business buildings. Like I am sitting along with Mr. Rajesh, and we are sitting in a BIS Manak Bhavan headquarters. It's a business building, it's a government office building. Similarly, that can be a private office building. That comes under Group E. And then Group F, mercantile building, where obviously, as per the name, all year transactions happen for merchandise. And then Group G is the industrial buildings. In the industrial buildings, we have the code part 4 subcategories into G1, G2 and G3 as per the amount of risk involved, or the fire risk involved, and the amount of combustible substances. And then comes the Group H storage, and then the Group J hazardous buildings. storage can be even your car parking standalone structure can be a storage building. And then hazardous building, something can be that can be classified as your fireworks companies or firework manufacturing units or a paint godown, something like that. It can also be classified as Group J hazardous. Apart from all these 9 classifications, which is universally adopted by world countries, we also commonly these days find in many towns and many cities rather, something called mixed occupancy building. In the sense, in one building itself, from ground floor to whatever 10th floor or 12th floor or 20th floor, you will have different occupancy types within the same building. There is an interesting table number 7 which the fire professionals and MEPF consultants and the government departments keep referring, wherein it suggests the requirements of fire protection requirements. It is limiting certain building occupancies for certain height, and certain only few buildings are permitted to go beyond. For example, I can talk about hospitals. All along, hospitals were supposed to be only up to 30 meters, but considering the rapid urbanization in the country and the limiting green land available for new construction of hospitals, in the last version in 2016, it was decided that the hospitals can be extended up to 45 meters, but the patients on bed or those who are resting after a surgery or a medical procedure, those people who are restricted to bed, they will be restricted within 30-meter height. Beyond 30 to 45 meter, it can be used for any other activity like OPD, nursing station, any other incidental requirements for hospital. And even in the last revision of NBC 2016, we followed the floods in one of the major metropolitan city in the country. The feedback and the extent of damage which was found, those were addressed, and accordingly, the location of, for example, electrical units or within the basement, which is limited to first basement, etc. Those were all introduced. Seeing that climate change was also slowly happening, sudden downpour is happening in the urban areas, leading to quick inundation of the basements, etc. So that called us for explicit putting of the restrictions in the code. And why we have introduced? Because this NBC is referred in the fire acts or fire rules or regulations of various states and UTs. So in a way that gets implemented.
Thank you, sir, at the detailed response. And our audience member has, they have put a really good question, and I feel really fortunate, sir, that we get really good audience here. The question they have asked, you have partially answered it also in your last response. Their question is whether, because the NBC was drafted in 2016, it was published in 2016, but even after 2016, there are many technological advancements. There are some other, geological changes also. So whether there is a scope of improvement, or if it is regularly improved, because Rajesh sir and you have been associated with NBC so long, and you have really closely worked with all the changes that has happened. So they wanted to understand how these changes take place, whether the recommendation comes from the maybe authorities, or it comes from the general public, or is there some separate body that will be that is responsible for making amendments or changes to the code?
Yes. Such requirements for updates or changes or modifications come from various quarters. In the country, we have an important body called Standing Fire Advisory Committee, or SFAC, which is a body under Ministry of Home Affairs, in which all the state fire chiefs are represented as members, and it is headed by the DG of Civil Services Home Guards, and it has a member secretary by designation as the National Fire Advisor. And BIS has also been invited since about more than 15 years on this particular SFAC. From that body of various chief fire officers, number one, we get first-hand information of what is the feedback by the firemen who are going and running and fighting the fire for us. That is one category. Number two, we are also getting inputs and queries or suggestions from the MEPF consultants, that is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and most importantly, fire consultants. And those people also keep let us know that it's not the age-old, say G plus 1 or G plus 4 construction, which we typically used to see 30 or 35 years ago. Today, it is all high-rise buildings and complex buildings. So the demands are also increasing, and that way, even professionals or government bodies or private agencies, everybody is free to write to BIS. Now that with we are available in, that is BIS is available in multiple platforms, and moreover we have also introduced a specific WhatsApp channel for the National Building Code of India. We are also getting we are popularizing our initiatives also, and through emails, and also more importantly through our Manak online portal also we are free to receive inputs even from common public, nothing like it. I'll be touching, as for an example, we after this National Building Code of India, we also developed another special publication called Building Regulations. As part of that building regulations, we also happen to make a certain guides for the common consumers in the name of pamphlets for common users. Even these pamphlets have been, this is something relating to what is a building regulatory process and what should a common owner see if he is getting an independent house made, and if somebody is purchasing a flat or an apartment, what should he see, what are the common things, those things we have also made. And these pamphlets have been put in the various state local authorities website also, and people have started writing to BIS. My builder, for example, has not followed the height as given in the building code and as explained in a simple language in this small booklet of 40 pages, which gives an extract of 2,500 pages of NBC. So common users are also being made aware of through BAs also, but by other platforms also. And your other question about we have building code, we have other standards. Sometimes standards are revised earlier, and building codes are generally revised in 8 to 10 years time. What is that we have to follow? There is an example very recently also. We have got three major standards modified or updated beyond LBC 2016. Those are fire door standard, fire blanket standard, and sprinkler, that is which is used in sprinkler system, water sprinklers which you commonly see in the ceilings. These three standards have been done. Rajesh can say something about some of these standards, how for example on fire door we have made these changes.
The fire door standard, that is IF 3614, was revised in to 2021, and last year we brought one amendment to the standard and clarified several things. And the standards for sprinkler system for design, installation, and maintenance in buildings was also revised in 2021. And currently we are revising the standard for hydrant system in buildings. So currently we have different standards for hydrant systems: IS 1303938449668. Now we are merging all the standards and revising the hydrant system code comprehensively, uh, where we will talk about its design, installation, and maintenance. And we are also formulating standards for different kind of fire suppression systems. So like the condensed aerosol fire suppression system, we are formulating new standard. And in our committee, we are also formulating standards occupancy wise, like for hospitals. We will be formulating a new standard which will talk about fire safety in hospitals comprehensively. Although NBC talks about it, but we will be covering in details. And we are also formulating standard for data centers, fire safety in data centers, because in India, so many data centers are being built because of the data processing and storage of data in India. And we are also uh, formulating, revising our standard for hotels. So this is current the work under our fire safety committees for standards.
Yeah, these are very, very critical areas, sir, as you just mentioned, hotels and hospitals, all the public places. And major fire incidents, if I'm not wrong, the news that we hear or see, it is about these places only. Recently, Delhi hospital, it was all over in the news, and it was such a tragic incident, and that is why people now we have some of our audience members. They are also reminding us about these incidents, especially the Delhi hospital fire that that really started this debate that what are the checks that hospitals should follow to make buildings fire safe, and it is because it is directly related to our lives. It is not an ordinary matter. So people are really interested in knowing now. There is a growing interest in getting awareness about how to make buildings more fire safe, how to make even residential residential buildings better as per fire safety is concerned. So, sir, I will take the liberty to merge two questions of our audience members. One is a basic question you had answered partially in your previous response. They are saying that they have got their building plan ready, and their architect have informed them that it is compliant to all norms. So they did not know about specifically about NBC, but they said their architect said that all the compliances have been taken care of. So how can they check whether it is NBC compliant, and can they have somebody from BIS to check their plans? So if you comment on that, how can we help them?
So it is not clear whether that particular person is meaning his building is a low-rise building or it is an apartment building. If it is a low-rise building, strictly speaking, as per the National Building Code of India, it doesn't need much any special attention, particularly if it is a one or a two family unit, like say ground floor or ground plus one story building, wherein only same family members, say father, mother, and then his son or daughter, they are staying upstairs. Only simple two families, they hardly need anything as per the current version of the building code. But in this revision, we are going to introduce through this building code on table 7 at least two major requirements. One is every house should have a fire extinguisher, and every house should have a fire blanket. This I'm insisting because in earlier times we used to have furniture etc. all made of wood and solid wood and those stuff. Such material take a lot of time to burn. Its combustibility is very long. But today we have got numerous polymers and plastics and other hydrocarbon material based elements, including your own bed. It's not proper cotton bed, these days. We have got some polymer beds and all those. It's good, it gives comfort, but at the same time, the combustible elements in the building or the load in the building has increased leaps and bounds. That means in our house, we need to at least have this particular fire extinguisher. There is a simple one called ABC powder fire extinguisher. It can be used to douse fires in electrical elements also. Say, for example, God forbid, if there is a fire in your electric panel or near your air conditioner or split air conditioner, you can still open and direct that ABC powder towards this electrical element. It doesn't have any water, so there is no worry at all. And that's right. If it is a high-rise building, that architect is right. He must have received the no objection certificate for an apartment building of more than 15 meters, or if it has got a floor plate area more than 5,000 square feet. There can be n number of building units on it. Generally, as a owner, apart from depending on just the verbal and keep a copy of all the permits issued by various government departments, starting from the land deed and the construction permit and the no objection certificate, including the fire NOC certificate if it is an apartment building. It's all digitally available format. These days, many builders are giving it on a flash drive. Earlier, they used to give it in a pen drive. They used to give it on a hard copy, etc. We need to keep them safe. Even if you buy a small iron box or a mixie, you get a small warranty card and a detailed operation, right? And if you are building a 75 lakhs or if you are purchasing a 75 lakh apartment or a 2 crore apartment, you need to obviously have all these kept ready. And more importantly, you should read it. You should know what is what. Are you legally being entitled for every such feature which was initially planned and submitted to authority, and whether everything has been constructed and placed in your building.
We have, okay, sir, we have two questions. We got a question from Abhiraj Chindeji. They are asking, are building fire suppression systems required automatic sprinklers? So I think they wanted to ask whether building fire suppression systems are required in specific buildings. I think if you can tell us whether for residential buildings it is, I think if the cost goes high, so people may want to know whether it is required for residential buildings also, or they can simple fire extinguishers or that kind of system is okay for that. Please throw some light on that.
Yeah. Low-rise one or two family buildings, it doesn't require automatic fire sprinkler system. But if it is an apartment of multiple stories, then definitely it should have all these sprinkler systems, which is something similar to a small shower head. And there is a red pipe which is going all along. And the code is also expecting that it is distinctly seen, and it should not be hidden somewhere in a small pocket or something. It should be properly exposed, because these sprinklers are by the name automatic sprinklers. Even if somebody is busy or sleeping or he's away, if there is a fire or high temperature which is sensed, that sprinkler has got a small element which is typically a glass bulb having a special liquid and a different color, which on reaching or sensing so and so temperature, it will burst. There is another variety called a metal plate, or it's an alloy, special alloy, which senses the temperature. After the temperature, it melts and it releases or opens a valve. From that valve, immediately water gushes. Unlike in various movies where we see a hero or a villain will hit that sprinkler, one sprinkler, then the entire floor, all the sprinklers will work. It doesn't happen that way. In the actual fire, the nearest sprinkler which will detect that highest temperature, that will come into operation, and every sprinkler has been designed to cover certain area. That is why the sprinkler installation code which Mr. Rajesh mentioned, IS 15105, revised in 2021, well after NBC, it gives detailed drawings and calculation methods also to enable even a budding MEPF professional to know what are the types of sprinklers, and what is the calculations to be done, and how submittals have to be done to the fire authorities, and how fire authorities will not only see your plan and paper, they will come, and during the construction, and most importantly post construction, they will operate and see certain valves whether water of the right pressure is coming out or not. So if it is an apartment building, definitely to that question, yes. If it's a high-rise apartment building, definitely it has to have the sprinkler systems.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Jayesh. He's asking, sir, are there any standards available online for reference related to fire safety? So you had mentioned earlier also, sir, if you could repeat the resources or maybe where they can have some information about it.
Yeah, if Mr. Jayesh is a professional or a young engineer or an architect, say for example, and if he's interested to buy, or if he's interested to access any Indian standard, all our indigenous Indian standards are available free as PDF for download. Anybody in the world can download, not only Indians, anybody can download as a searchable PDF all Indian standards which are indigenous. If it is an ISO adoption standard, some minimum fee of 300 or 400 depending on number of pages may have to be paid as a royalty to ISO. And in case the questioner is a common consumer, and these pamphlets which I was mentioning, and more importantly these three pamphlets, three colored pamphlets, these are available in our BIS website, and separately they can be in touch with us also. They are available in our BIS website, bis.gov.in, and it is there in our what's new section also, or separately also we can let him know, we can send copies. And more importantly, all the 40 plus branch offices of BIS in the last about 1.5 years back, they ensured that these pamphlets were distributed door to door, at least to about 1,000 houses covering that particular area, in a way to promote these publications also, that BIS is not catering to the professionals and government departments. We, as coming as an autonomous body under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, we are trying to empower, and we have been doing this activities to empower the common consumer also. Apart from making something called as iCare app, which commonly people are using on their mobile and Android phones. We have developed these publications also.
We have our next question, sir, and I think they posted this query midway your response, because you had initially you mentioned that they can download the standards, and the question is there any fire safety guidelines for common public to understand in simple language, because NBC has legal language and maybe hard to understand. So they wanted to know. So you just shown the leaflets, which is a summary of what NBC states, and it is, as you mentioned, it is easily available to download. It is also, as you mentioned earlier, it is available on state government websites also. So many state governments also have put it on their website, so people can easily download. Apart from that, sir, I'll request my team also that when they post this video as a reel on Instagram, in the comment section, we'll put the links to PDF. So that will make people, it will be convenient for them to download and read. And these pamphlets are these are in simple language, so anybody can decipher, because I could read it. So if I can read it, anybody can read it and understand. So it's not very technical. And next, sir, it is related to the earlier question where somebody wanted to know whether, because they were constructing 3 BHK house, so they have their building plan ready, so where they can have opinion whether this building plan is compliant to NBC. So now they are saying whether if their architect is not following NBC, can they complain anywhere? You had earlier mentioned that there is they can email or something like that, but if you could repeat that, how they can address that particular.
Yes. Yes. The land and building construction activity is a state subject, and every such activity is controlled by the local panchayat level or municipality level or municipal corporation level. Whichever is the nearest such agency where that under construction building is following, an aggrieved consumer should immediately knock at the door of that panchayat or municipality or municipal corporation or the development agency. They have got a team of building officials. This building code in its part 2 administration also suggests what are those important team of building professionals, what are their rules, what are their legal limits to function, to the extent of such local authorities coming and visiting an under construction building also, and even an occupied building also. If it is a high-rise building, the local JE of that junior engineer of that particular area has got a legal power between sunrise and sunset to come to any building, show his identity card, and come and inspect that building whether everything is functioning structurally also and in terms of fire safety aspects also. BIS need not be knocked per se directly, because we are a national standards body. Our activity is to develop national standards, and more importantly, we operate this certification system by ensuring ISI marking only on compliant products. If somebody is making a bad quality product, we don't allow or entertain him to mark ISI on their product. For example, this extinguisher we talked, which is required even for a small building. Even that extinguisher is these days coming under mandatory certification. It has been implemented also. 2 extinguishers, IS 15683 and 16018, which Mr. Rajesh is dealing. These 2 extinguishers have been made under mandatory certification, and slowly considering that the government of India is also committed for quality in infrastructure, you can expect more fire safety related products to be brought under the ambit of compulsory ISI marking, which will ensure that any purchaser, organized purchaser or a small consumer or a resident or a family man, he should be also getting a genuine product which is compliant to the Indian standards.
Next question, I think we can club it, because four members of our audience, they have asked questions on similar lines. They wanted to know whether is there any training courses provided for BIS from BIS for professionals, and another linked question is whether there are any workshops or training for professionals in the field. So I'm clubbing 2 questions at one go, sir. Please.
Yeah. Apart from our major activity of standards making and certification, Our next major activity is laboratory activity, wherein we verify by way of testing those ISI mark products genuinely if it is complying or not. And the fourth main activity is training. We do training for Indian national citizens also, and for foreign nationals there are specific tailor-made courses. Every year we make something called as a training calendar. About a month back, this year's calendar for training has also been uploaded. On specific to our today's discussion on National Building Code, we have made 6 capsule courses. One is talking about structural safety, another talks about fire safety, third is on geotechnical and soil, then comes plumbing, and then we have this on HVAC requirements, and similarly on accessibility also, how to make various buildings accessible friendly for persons with disabilities. All these are open generally for professionals, government departments, private agencies also. If somebody is interested to come as an independent common consumer, we don't bar it. They can come. There is no such harm. They can also come and see. But I believe these being technical documents, and these are helping the budding people or those existing junior level employees to gain more about what is happening newly or what are the significant changes. These programs are very important because the speakers of such events, as I mentioned, are from the technical committee members. So those people who are writing the standards, they will be explaining. So it's a very right platform to have face-to-face discussions with such people and get to know what are the bases, what made them to introduce something or what made them to modify or update something. And more importantly, it's a two-way system. Such people can attend the training and they can also share their experiences. Because we as a body, or we are preparing standards, putting the draft standards on the BIS website and circulating to many thousands by email and through various social media, expecting feedback from common users also, and all the way up to professionals also. Apart from those formally writing written comments, such training programs will be a best way to have one-to-one interaction. And we have made, for all these 6 capsule courses, we are organizing a minimum 3 for this particular year. And you mentioned, Dr. Radhakishan, about this recent fire incident, and I'm glad to mention that our management, the top management, has already written to the various chief secretaries requesting the fire authorities and deputy chiefs to come and specifically attend a special 2-day curated program on National Building Code and National Electric Code of India. And because we are also a little worried, despite having so many standards of Rajesh CD 22 and 36 on firefighting and fire safety, and having National Building Code and revising it and updating, amending it, we also feel at times why such incidences are happening, and those incidences are at times very grave also. So we want to have a feedback. So we are organizing 3 such special programs exclusively for the top 2 people of the fire service authorities, municipal corporations and municipalities. We have already written, and a tremendous response has come, and we'll be continuing to have more such programs. And apart from the formally decided programs, our training institute is capable enough to make a new program exclusively depending on the audience. They can be in touch with our head of the National Institute of Training for Standardization depending on their need. It can be done.
Thank you, sir. Next, sir. Next question. Again, you had partially, responded to the same. Is there any regular advisory issued to, because as you had mentioned, because it is a state subject, so whether regular advisory is issued to the maybe concerned officials, authorities at state governments. So you rightly mentioned that a letter or an advisory goes from our higher ups to all state bodies. And you also mentioned that we are organizing training programs for state officials. So they are also, and you have just mentioned that we are getting encouraging response. So in the previously also, sir, as we can remember, because the media team handles the press releases and the social media also. So earlier also these training programs has garnered huge traction, and many officials, many state, but we also do interviews of them. So they are participating, and they are more and more awareness is being spread. It is only possible because of the proactive role that BIS is playing. So not waiting for their requests, but proactively issuing advisories to these bodies so that they can, even if they are busy in other work, their attention is drawn to this critical issue. And I think more and more training programs and more departments joining this will make the situation better. Next question, sir. Uh, there are some technical questions also. I would request our audience to, uh, because through their questions, one question is, are remote or local fire alarm systems are required? So I think their questions are very technical, and they seem professionals. They can go online and they can read the standard. It will be a really great help for all professionals. It's a very comprehensive document, as sir had mentioned. So all the professionals and experts who have joined this chat, I'll make sure that we are posting links to the PDF file of our standard for their convenience. Moving on, next, sir, we have another question regarding international participation. So they wanted to know whether Mr. Ravi is posting this question, whether our NBC guidelines or our NBC is aligned with international fire safety standards. So please speak on that.
Yeah, that's an important and interesting question of Mr. Ravi. Right from not only for the building code, but for any Indian standard which is made afresh or which is being revised, we also see what are the capabilities of the variety of people or professionals within the country, be it, as I mentioned, manufacturers, technologies, users, researchers, etc. And more importantly, whether things are happening standard available. Incidentally, in the making of the 2016 version of Part 4 Fire and Life Safety, we did refer to the building codes of Hong Kong, Singapore, UAE, Britain, and USA, which is called as NFPA codes, etc. We did see multiple of these also, and we saw how those things are being addressed in their area, in those areas, and more importantly, standards are there to provide solutions to repeated problems which are particular to that geography. Certain countries have got colder climates or temperate all through the year or for significant period of the year. But in our country, we have got a composite 5 different climates all through the year. And we have got a climatic zone map of India. So considering our geoclimatic requirements, our Indian standards were addressing the best aspects, and wherever possible, we have enumerated or given numeric values of minimum or maximum or suggestive values. And wherever certain technologies are yet to catch up in the country, we have briefly mentioned about, for example, fire curtains. People think that we have got huge buildings and there are 10 towers in a residential block, and we have got common 2 basements, basement 1 and basement 2, all for parking. And given parking, nobody wants to put a solid wall between those huge area, but it is best to put walls. There are 2 types of walls which can be constructed either by solid brick or a block, or by putting something called as a fire blanket also. So we have touched some of the important aspects of fire blanket, but a separate standard on fire blanket is being done by our Mr. Rajesh committee on CD 22. So that way we have at least introduced in the 2016 edition, but in our this edition, that is the next edition of NBC which is being revised, we'll be adding more such important requirements. We don't want to leave any stone unturned, and considering that we have got small buildings all the way up to super tall buildings, even the city of Bombay itself has got many hundreds of super high-rise buildings coming up, and many other cities like Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Kolkata and Chennai are catching up. The requirements are going to go manifolds, I should say. We have got a separate standard for that matter on structural safety of tall buildings, which was revised recently and released last year only. So we are doing, and these standards are being, as I mentioned, are being done by the efforts of various professionals who are joined with BIS and who are invited also. It is not that it's a closed group technical meeting only these people will write. And depending on the quality and quantity of the inputs which we are receiving from outsiders also, they are always free to be formally part of the BIS standards writing committee, and they can always feed their inputs and suggestions. So we did use the best practices in the revision of Part 4 of NBC particularly.
Um, we have some, I think they are professional bodies who are also part of, who are also on the social media, and they are you know, putting comments. They are also this is kind of a comment, sir, that enforcement is weak, and there must be some efforts in this direction. So, as you mentioned, it's a state subject, but of course, in our advisory, there must be some parts, sir, about the enforcement, some guidelines or instructions to the state bodies. Can you highlight that?
Yeah, that's right, sir. Dr. Adhikishani, it's a very important question about enforcement. Generally, people are it's very easy or easy. Quite often, we do note in the newspapers or news articles telling that we may have standards, enforcement is weak, etc. We should see the reality also. The code in its part 2 administration talks what are the building official teams and who are the various competent people who have to be there, all the way starting from building inspector to an urban planner to a town planner to a civil engineer to an architect to an structural engineer to a geotechnical engineer to an MEPF engineer. All these people should ideally be part of that particular local authority. And local authority, by the way, it need not be one unit. In the case of fire, it is a fire services authority who give the clearances or NOC only from the fire safety point of view. It is a municipality or the municipal corporation which ideally gives with respect to other aspects of structural safety and HVAC, that is heating, ventilation, air conditioning, etc. So all these authorities do talk to each other at multiple points of time, right from an application from an owner is submitted. So all these people, some authorities are there wherein they have outsourced this activity by identifying key professionals because they might not be having enough number of team of building officials. But all the more considering that our country has got such an IT power, and we can very well see these days you get an SMS of your pollution certificate for the car is not done. Please do it immediately, else you face 10,000 rupees fine. Or your IT has not been filed for this year, do it immediately. So why don't we send such messages to our building owners or that RWA chiefs that you have got multiple towers, your tower was inspected last 2 years back, next third year is approaching, you ensure that all your building elements are maintained and upkept. For that matter, the Part 12 Asset and Facility Management was introduced in the 2016 edition of Building Code, and this is an important provision which a building owner and particularly his housekeeping staff should see. It's not housekeeping in the sense those who sweep or clean or ensure that plumbing and electrical are done. More importantly is the electrical safety and the lift machinery, etc. These are electromechanical elements, and it needs come se come a diploma civil engineer or a diploma mechanical engineer or a BTech. If not, those people should be there. They should be vigilant enough, and they should be properly moving across every floor. In fact, the code is also giving guidelines. What should these people do? And more important, not only the code, the fire authorities also have got numerous amount of awareness material in various of their websites, focusing only on common consumer in 1 and 2 story building, common people in multi-story building, for industries, for hospitals, for whatnot. Our authorities, to the extent possible, they have also done. Probably it is a time that we as a common consumer should also start making such pamphlets and videos viral. Instead of making every such other videos, we are making it viral in our social media. NDMA has been doing all those since 2005 version of the building code. We used to see in the news channel during the break in the news, NDMA also did. We were also doing, even after NBC 2016, we have organized more than 80 events ourselves. There are so many professional bodies who are doing on their own 1 or a half a day or a 2 day programs on building codes. They are talking to each other, they are disseminating the information, and more importantly, all you would say what is required is, apart from strengthening the authorities, which would require investment or whatever the political bosses would be giving or funding or whatever it's being done from central level also. Our students who are coming out of the engineering colleges or architectural colleges, they should see, read, and understand this building code and Indian standards, because as I mentioned at the very first beginning, these the national building code is reflected in the building bylaws, and if they come out to the field, they should know that building bylaw and they should know the building code. It is high time that our educational institutes also are teaching this particular material, and a few colleges are teaching the provisions of structural safety, which is covered in IS 456 on concrete, 800 on steel, and 1893 on earthquake. And some of the architectural colleges are teaching fire and life safety. All the more, it is essential for civil engineers also to read Part 4 fire and life safety. Some of the autonomous colleges have made an initiative, but still a lot more has to be done. Else, what will happen? Those people have to come out after their graduation. They will learn separately in a matter of 3 months or 4 months. What if they can read it beforehand? So it is a multi-pronged strategy. Not only BIS, there are various other bodies who are also wanting this particular quality infrastructure has to be ensured in the country. So that, because most importantly, India is also a signatory to not only the Sendai framework but also to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. All these are with a view to ensure that that should be as low as possible of deaths or incidences of people within buildings. We have made a commitment at national level to the world country at a United Nations level. Ultimately, it has come to the local level. So at local level, apart from the building bylaws, it is the important role of an individual practicing civil engineer or architect or structural engineer or an MEP consultant that he or she makes drawings and calculations which are at the most, at the best, at par with building codes, and they can always surpass the Indian standards requirements, and they can give the best of the buildings. Not only the drawings, the role of the site engineer or the constructor, the builder, those people is all the more important. They have to read properly the drawings, and exactly as per them it has to be constructed. And all the more, apart from simple housekeeping of our buildings, we need to employ the right professional team to ensure whether these electromechanical equipments are being maintained properly. So it's a multi-pronged strategy. I'm sure that we can also see that many builders, private builders, are claiming that mine is a green building, mine is a smart building, mine is a digitally smart building, etc. Some of those builders are actually going in the right direction, and a lot more are yet to catch up with those requirements. I'm sure that the near future is very bright. We have got enlightened customers or consumers also, and we have got all the material available in terms of standards and codes, and we have got the billing authorities and professionals. I think we are heading towards a more safer society, I would say.
Right, sir. So we are moving towards the end, and we'll take two questions. In fact, one question, there is a hidden compliment for us in the question, and I have a good eye good eye for compliments. So first of all, I'll take this query where Mr. Mayank is requesting that sir, kindly brief on Gazette mandating use of standard mark certification and enforcement and penalties if not complied to IS 15683. I think IS 15683 is for portable fire extinguishers. And last year also we had DPID has issued PCO about this standard. So it is mandatory to use now. So apart from NBC, which is a state matter, but these instruments which are very critical. In fact, sir, if you could, you must have seen on Instagram, we had shared a reel yesterday, wherein this incident that happened in Maharashtra, a petrol pump worker, he successfully dozed off a fire from a petrol tank of from somebody's motorbike. It could have been a grave tragedy, but because of this efficient equipment, well-maintained equipment, and the trained petrol pump worker, the tragedy was averted. So we had made a reel on that, how important it is, how critical it is. Such a small instrument lying on the side all the time we can see, but this can save hundreds of lives at that time. So it is very critical. So if you could, sir, briefly tell us about IS 15683. So, and we'll move to the next question, which is a compliment also. So we'll be taking that. But before that, I'll have your views on IS 15683.
Okay. Let me briefly talk about IS 15683, and then maybe Rajesh can also add on to it. 15683 is about portable fire extinguishers. It covers various types of extinguishing media, including simple ABC powder or water or carbon dioxide or even foam. And it comes, the extinguishers can come in multiple sizes from 1 liter, 2 liter, 4 liter, 6 liter, 8, 10, 12, etc. And these have been given so that there are 5 basic types of fires. five types of fires, and depending on the type of fire, we need to use the right type of extinguishers. The performance of that extinguisher is evaluated to certain tests, etc. And only if such extinguishers are tested and if the test results prove that it is complying to the requirements, then any extinguisher manufacturer is permitted to put an ISI mark, and that is not a one-time affair of they start putting. We also from BIS go do surveillance or a surprise inspection by visiting a factory, and more importantly, we are these days lifting the samples from common market. We go to any market, we purchase anybody's ISI marked extinguisher and they test it, and we are testing it. And if it is passing, well and good. If it doesn't pass, we have got a robust system in product certification as per which we immediately intimate to that manufacturer claiming, indicating the batch number and production serial number, etc. And he is bound to stop his production and stop marking and do some corrective actions and confirm to us, and we people BIS go and do re-inspection of that facility. So there are systems in place. Maybe Rajesh, you can explain more about 15683.
Like sir has already mentioned, 15683 is for portable fire extinguishers, and the upper limit for the portable fire extinguishers is 17 kilograms. Then we have IS 16018, which is for wheeled fire extinguishers. These extinguishers has weight more than 17 kilograms and up to 450 kilograms. And recently, government has also issued one quality 6018. So now these fire extinguishers are mandatorily be marked with the ISI mark, and uh, we also have one standard for the selection, installation, and maintenance of these the fire extinguishers, because our work doesn't end at the only the ISI marked extinguisher. It should properly inspected and maintained periodically. So we have IS 2190 selection, installation, and maintenance, and we are also revising this standard, and it will be like published in the next 1 or 2 months.
Thank you, Rajesh, sir. In the end, sir, as I mentioned, we have received a query, and that is there is a hidden compliment for us also. Our viewer, Mr. Sambhav, he has mentioned that he joined the previous discussion with our Deputy Director General, Pant sir, and during that discussion, Pant sir had mentioned, because it was on NBC and we had covered the whole of NBC briefly during the discussion. It was Pant sir mentioned that it is important that general public also, whenever they are visiting public places, they check their surroundings, whether the building is compliant to safety norms. So whatever information or whatever knowledge or understanding they have, they must ensure that the building complies to that safety norms. So in that discussion, he had also mentioned that general public can, wherever they see fire extinguisher, they can just check the ISI mark on that and whether it is properly maintained. So Mr. Sambhav mentioned that during that discussion, he got to know about it, and he was thankful for that. And he said recently he visited a mall, and there was this fire extinguisher. The ISI mark was there, but it was not properly maintained, he said, because he mentioned that it was difficult to reach out to this machine, which to him is not logical. So if you can, talk about it, whether there is some, because he asked that whether they can complain about it, and where is the place they can complain about it. So please throw some light on that, sir, and then we will close after
that. Okay, so that's an interesting observation, and thanks to his learnings or his discussions with our DDG, Mr. Sanjay Pant, as I mentioned, when I joined BIS, the implementation phase of National Building Code of India 2005 was on, and I was also fortunate to visit about 8 different cities, and everywhere BIS went, it was a minimally priced event, and the hall used to be overflowing. And all these participants used to be not just professionals, but also from government departments and private construction agencies, developers, and local authorities, all these people used to come and attend those events, and it is being continued by BIS to this day also. As regards extinguishers, apart from seeing whether it is properly colored and marked or cleaned, etc., we should see there is a small dial in it. It says whether the pressure inside the cylinder is low or too high, or it is in the green zone. That even a common consumer should know. If he or she has noted something, as a vigilant customer, he should go and immediately report it to the manager of that particular building facility. If we are living in an apartment, we are all the more important to see every now and then, say once in a while on a Saturday or Sunday when we have leisure time, while going through our corridor, because we should know our route to escape. Even for a residential building, we should ideally have two escapes. Of course, for 1 and 2 family building, we have got a front door and a backyard door. That is fine. In the case of apartments, we have something called as a single door at the front near the staircase, and rest all are balconies. For low-rise apartments, say up to less than or equal to 15 meters or so, all our not only 15, up to all the way up to 45 meters, our balconies itself will serve as a refuge area. And we should ensure that we keep our refuge area and balconies neat and clean, because in case of a worst case scenario, if we cannot come through the main door and take the staircase, we should at least close the door and not latch it. We should not put a lock on it, and we should come to the place of refuge, that is your balcony. Close the door of the balcony and keep a wet towel preferably at the bottom of the door, so that fire does not come from inside of our apartment or house to our place of safety. And we should be taking refuge in such area wherein outsiders can see us, or wherein we have a connection to a landline phone or a mobile phone. We should never take shelter inside a toilet or a bathroom thinking that you have got a lot of water in it. You have a very, very tiny ventilator there, and that fan may or may not function. What if a mains has been turned off? So to that extent, common public should know that ideally in terms of fire, they should quickly come out of the building taking the staircase. That is the reason in many lifts it is put that do not use lift in case of fire. But we have got super tall buildings coming up, and in the building code, in the chapter on Part 8, Section 5 lifts, and Part 4 fire and life safety, it talks about phased evacuation also. And for example, if floor number 7 has got a smoke or a fire incident, we want floor number 7 and 8, 9 and 6 and 5. These 5 floors have to be evacuated first, and then all the floors above the 7th floor, and thereafter all the floors below the 7th floor. This is a sequence of evacuation that should be done, and all these has to be done upon receiving 2 signals from the fire alarm. One will be an alert signal, and then which will be for 1 minute only, and then there will be an evacuation signal which will be a continuous beat. All these are possible only if somebody would manually break that glass or push that call button, or if we have a good detector system, it will alarm that particular housekeeping diploma engineer or a site, or not just a diploma engineer, even a mechanical engineer, whoever is sitting there. That person will immediately take a microphone. That is a public address system. Every floor should have a public address system. If you read the table number 7 of part 4, it is invariably applicable for many complex buildings and high-rise buildings. Even every classroom of our school used to have a speaker, right? The code is wanting it, because during times of distress, the warden, deputy warden, or those marshals who have been identified and who come with a band or an identification cap, etc., those people would start ensuring that the people are getting out of the building at periodic fashion, and not just all at one go. We don't want that to happen. The 3rd floor or 4th floor fellows should not come out. Only the 7th, 6th, 5th, and 8th and 9th floor should come out if the incident is on 7th floor. And more importantly, as I mentioned, that we have to be a vigilant customer. And apart from ensuring that we have a common block, this extinguisher, don't see the color of the paint, etc. At times, lift and see whether you are able to lift it, and do participate in drill. For example, very recently, in about 3-4 months back, we happened to go to a different ministry. They said a meeting is at 3 p.m. and then we went at 2:45 itself, and then there was alarm going on, and we said, come on, they told us, come, let's go out of the building. I said, we need to participate. So we went out. We spent more than 45 minutes for the drill. Our meeting started only after 3:30. So we should respect, even if such calls are happening in other buildings, if it is not in our building also. And we should not think that it is a false alarm. We should respect, and it's for our own safety. What if we are spending half an hour outside in the sun or in a shade, etc.? There is something called as a assembly point, which is typically found in an group and in a mall also. We talked about mall some time back, and also in theaters or in any other building. Headcount is happening. We should pay attention to all these minor details, and building and facility asset and facility managers. They have a most important role, because the safety of the people is important. And why, in case I, as a common resident, if I have to get out, on the way of going down, I should be able to shout and inform the other people, and we should get out. And we also saw one incident where a brave lady in Gurgaon, she went all the way up to the higher floors and she knocked at everyone, and she tried to get out through the roof. And unfortunately, the door in the roof was locked, and it was not a ventilated door. That is, ideally, they should have put a grill, and know where the roof grill should be locked. It should be openable. Unfortunately, she saved many lives, more than 25 lives she saved, but she lost her life. That's a brave lady. She wanted to help others also. But even to that extent, maintenance is important. We as a homeowner should not think that we will close all the doors. We don't want dust to enter. At the roof level, it should be open, but we don't want people to enter to the roof. If there is fire, everybody should take stairs and they should get out. Don't go to the roof unless it is properly designed and you are being told. So discipline has to come, awareness has to be there, and drills have to be done. There is one Annexure D in Part 4 of NBC which talks about drill, an educated and sensitive drill, wherein people should take the staircase to get out of the building. We don't want people to do something like a Tarzan by putting a rope from second floor to ground floor and you ask them to have a pulley or something. No, don't do such type of drill. Do a proper drill, take a PA system, public address system, ask all the floor number 7, be ready. We will be putting a continuous whistle. Then all of you come one after the other or two together, so that in the staircase also there should not be any stampede. That for that extent, even our building code is giving what is the staircase width for residential building, for educational building, for hospital building, for assembly building, and for other types of buildings. So it is all the more important that our students coming out of the college should also learn them, our professionals practice them, our fire authorities and planning clearance authorities are also seeing and checking, verifying them, and more importantly, as customers and consumers, we should not store our electric bicycles or pots or dustbin in our staircases. Staircases are like our dear friend Mr. Sandeep Goel used to mention. He says staircases are the temples for people. That is the way you used to come out of a building. You should always keep them clear. And similarly, our corridors. We like to keep greenery in our corridors. No, that's wrong. Corridors also should be kept clean. They have been specifically designed to remain clean, because during a commotion, when multiple people are coming out, when smoke is building from top to bottom, you can't afford to hit on a pot or on a, say, a vehicle parked, a cycle parked, or on a bureau or something like that. So we need to be vigilant, and we need to be aware consumer, and we need to respect the guides coming out by fire authorities or other disaster management authorities, or every such sensitive people. And more importantly, I would personally feel that we should make viral the information about all the good practices on safety, so that our country should not see one more such incident. That should be the mindset of everybody, I would say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you putting all that technical information in such simple words. And this knowledge is not only useful to people, but it is life-saving knowledge. And I hope all our audience members who join today, they get this knowledge and they don't keep it to themselves, but they spread it further, because it is life-saving. And there is the kind of incidents we are hearing about nowadays, these are really concerning. And many of our audience members, they are asking about the trainings and all these programs. So we have a dedicated institute, NITS, which is National Institute in Standardization. So it is located in Noida, and they regularly conduct training programs, and information about these training programs is available on BIS website. So anybody can access them, professionals, non-professionals, public members, experts, or those anyone who wants to take part, they can get in touch with NIT's officials, and they can get to know what is happening and what kind of programs we are organizing. Apart from that, there are many others who are requesting information on specific standards. Again, as sir mentioned, Rajesh sir also mentioned that most of the information about standards is available on BIS website. It is a very rich repository of information on standards, not only Indian standards, but international standards. You can gain knowledge about international standards and practices and what is happening in standardization area. So everyone, I would request, use BIS website. And this great tool, which is BIS Care application, it is also available to all of us. For iOS and for Android, both the versions are available in 12 languages also, so it is very convenient to use. And again, it is another repository of information on standards. So in the end, I request, I thank all the, these some questions we have again, but we cannot take them up right now because most of them are repetitive. You already have answered in most of them. So what we are doing is we are putting all this video session on our Instagram. After this live ends, it will go to our Instagram page. So anybody who wants to know the previous questions, they can refer to this video and they can have responses to their queries. In the end, I would like to thank all our audience members, especially Mr. Mayank, Abhiraj, GST. Your contributions made our discussions more enriching. So we also noted down your suggestion for some other topics, and we'll request Rajesh sir, we'll request Arun sir to give us more time next time so that we can have another session on this, because in one discussion everything cannot be covered. So we'll bother you again, sir, and we'll seek your time. Thank you so much for sparing time with us, sir. I hope this benefits all. Thank you so much, Rajesh sir. Thank you so much, Arun sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarthak, for your support.
Thank you.